At the start of the episode, the English teacher, Miss Natsuki Kanase, fights off some therianthropes, shape-shifting humans that have appeared in the warehouse district. Seeing her immense power, the therianthropes realize she is a high-ranking mage referred to as the Witch of the Void. Meanwhile, Kojou checks on his sister Nagisa, but finds Yukina wearing only her inners. She cannot help but stare at her body before Yukina kicks him out the door. Later, while heading to their school, Kojou apologizes and calls it an accident, but Yukina blames herself for not being alert enough since Kojou is a pervert who grabs every chance to peep at naked girls. She also reveals that she was actually taking measurements for an upcoming ball sports tournament. Yukina adds that she and Nagisa will be cheerleaders for the tournament. After reaching the school, the three part ways to go to their classroom. Kojou bumps into Asagi, who has brought him some rackets for their tournament. Later, the two discover that they are paired up to participate in the badminton doubles match for their class. Elsewhere, Natsuki is busy catching demons and crushing them with the help of her familiar. She and her subordinates catch a research officer, Makamura Yosuke of the Kanao Alchemical Industry Development Department. They arrest him for having supplies and violating the Magical Trade Control Code. Later, it is known that he is an unregistered demon. Back at the school, Asagi gets ready for badminton practice while Kojou goes for a drink. While taking out his can from the school's vending machine, Kojou is suddenly attacked by two magical lions. Fearing to unleash his familiar at the school, Kojou tries to hide from the attack. Thankfully, Yukina comes to the rescue and slashes the lions with the magical blade. Later, when Kojou asks how she knew about the attack, Yukina revealed that she detected an aggressive magical power nearby, so she had to come out and check on him. It turns out that the giant lions are known as Shikigami, who are usually supposed to carry messages and not be aggressive. Just then, Kojou finds a black card that may have been the message that those Shikigami have been carrying to deliver to him. In the meantime, Asagi looks for her partner but finds Kojou and Yukina discussing the newly found message. Asagi, however, misreads the situation and apologizes to them for interrupting before hurriedly leaving the place. In the following scene, Yukina and Kojou go grocery shopping. They discuss the message Kojou had received. It turns out that the message was a party invitation by Lord Dmitry Vatlar of Ardil. Lord Vatlar is the messenger of the first progenitor, the Lost Warlord, the vampire who controls 72 familiars. He has just arrived on the island from Eastern Europe and wants Kojou to attend his party with a partner. Kojou is curious as to why Lord Vatlar would invite him to his party. He also doesn't have a partner, so he is confused. Yukina suggests he asks someone who knows what he is and can handle herself in a dangerous situation. At first, Kojou thinks of Natsuki, as she is a mage and knows about his secret, but when Yukina gets the signal that she is perfectly fit to be his partner, Kojou decides to take her. After they arrive at their apartment, they see a package from the Lion King organization. It's a dress for Yukina. Soon after, the two arrive at the party and search for Lord Vatlar. When they reach the roof of the building, they are attacked by a familiar, which Kojou easily defeats. Meanwhile, a footstep approaches, revealing the Vatlar, who congratulates Kojou for his exceptional fighting skills. He shares that he is pleased to meet the fourth progenitor and calls Kojou a Kalide blood. Just then, Kurosaka Sayaka, a war dancer of the Lion King organization specializing in hexes and assassinations, jumps in to interrupt their conversation. Sayaka immediately hurries to hug Yukina, as it turns out that the two have been ex-roommates. Sayaka introduces herself as an observer of Lord Vatlar to Kojou. Meanwhile, Asagi talks over the phone with Motoki, whining about how she saw Kojou and Yukina together the other day. She suspects that the two are dating each other. Motoki assures that Kojou doesn't see Yukina that way and instead suggests she set a honey trap so she can seduce him. Back at the party, Lord Vatlar confronts Kojou about Aurora Florestina, the fifth familiar of Kalide blood. He says how he was in love with Aurora, but now that Kojou has consumed Aurora and her blood runs within him, Lord Vatlar shall give his love to Kojou himself. Just then, Yukina introduces herself as a sword-shaman of the Lion King organization, but the Lord has it all figured out. He guesses that Yukina, although an observer of Kojou, is a prospective blood partner of Kojou and declares that she is his love rival. But Lord Vatlar is just playing with them. He finally confesses that he summoned them to inform them that a terrorist, Christoph Gardos, has made a name for himself in Europe. Gardos heads a radical group called Black Death Emperor Faction, consisting of an army of therianthropes. The faction responsible for more than 400 casualties, and now he is on the island, living in the Demon District. His faction is after an ancient weapon present on the island. Sayaka adds that the faction is a therianthrope supremacist group, the same one Natsuki was fighting off at the start of the episode. Lord Vatler clarifies that he has actually come to take care of Gardos. Hearing this, Yukina volunteers to apprehend the Black Death Emperor faction and wants to prove that she is fit to be an observer of the fourth progenitor, Kojou. Lord Vatler agrees, and Yukina and Kojou leave the party. In the following scene, Asagi jumps in the bed with Kojou and surprises him early in the morning. She wants to set him up for a honey trap as suggested by Motoki, but she loses control and falls off the bed along with Kojou. When Yukina and Nagisa come to alert Kojou about the school, they find him in an intimate position with Asagi. Yukina abruptly leaves the scene while Asagi guesses she is jealous. While at the school, Kojou confronts Yukina and tells her that he had nothing to do with Asagi this morning. Yukina changes the subject and talks about the business matter they had with Lord Vatler the other day. She plans to seek more information on Gardos with Natsuki. Next, Yukina and Kojou arrive at Natsuki's office room, and we can see that she has Astarte as her maid. When the duo asks her about Gardos, Natsuki details the weapon that his faction is after. The weapon is known as Nalakuvera, a weapon of the gods said to have destroyed countless civilizations. On the island, a company named Kanao Alchemical Industry had smuggled the weapon, but it was once again stolen. The researcher who assisted in decrypting the tablet and stealing the weapon is already in custody. Natsuki also informs that the island guard has been searching for the weapon in every corner, and finally found a clue that it is in the corner of the subfloat. Before leaving to find the weapon, Natsuki warns about Lord Vatler to Kojou, explaining that he is a cunning beast and might be after Kojou as well, since he has already devoured 2 high-ranking vampire elders. In the following scene, Kojou begs Asagi to look up Nalakuvera. Asagi reluctantly agrees, and the two break into the school's security room. Asagi utilizes her hacking skills and finds that Nalakuvera is actually a biological weapon that was unearthed in a dormant state at the end of the century. Once outside, Kojou tells Asagi that a stone tablet with ancient text explaining how to use it was recently discovered. Asagi knows something, but she doesn't share, and instead makes an excuse to get a drink. While Kojou is sitting alone, furious, Sayaka arrives and tries to strike him with her magical blade. She is angry that she's been using Yukina and selfishly sucking her blood while also flirting with other women. Kojou says it's a misunderstanding, but Sayaka pierces her blade right through him. To their surprise, Kojou unleashes extreme power, causing severe damage to his school's building. Just then, Asagi arrives at the scene and is stunned to see Kojou in the state. When she tries to save him, thinking that Sayaka is about to kill him, Asagi gets hurt and falls unconscious on the ground. Yukina immediately comes to the rescue like always, and Kojou's intense power finally starts to settle down. She immediately takes Asagi to the nurse's room but urges Sayaka and Kojou to stay behind. Sometimes later, Asagi regains her consciousness after Astarte, who also happens to be the school's nurse as placed by Natsuki there, nurses her. Yukina lies to Asagi that ductwork on the roof broke, making her unconscious due to the sheer damage. Astarte warns that there are intruders in the building and their speed and amount of ground covered implies that they are demons heading towards their location. Soon enough, a bunch of therianthropes arrive at the place along with their leader, Christoph Gardos. But it turns out that Gardos is actually after Asagi. When Kojou and Sayaka hear a loud thud, they hurry to the nurse's room, only to find a wounded Astarte. Meanwhile, Motoki sees Asagi, Yukina, and Nagisa being taken away in a van by some suspicious men. He follows them and finds that they are being taken far away from their island in a helicopter. When he tries to extend his ability of air control manipulation to follow the aircraft, Lord Vatler pops in and interrupts him. Vatler then knocks him down and throws him down the building. In the meantime, Yukina and Asagi learn that they have been kidnapped so that Asagi can analyze the control commands for the Nalakuvera. Gardos informs them that they have already activated the weapon after decrypting the text, and now they want to further their plans of destroying the island with the help of Asagi's hacking skills. Elsewhere, Kojou and Sayaka save Astarte and head to the subfloat, hoping that is where their friends have been kept. When the duo arrives, they meet Natsuki, who is already on her way to stop the terrorists from exploiting the weapon. There, they learn that the weapon has already been activated and is now destroying the island. The three are interrupted by Lord Vatler, who announces that Sardos is long gone with their friends. He also throws off Motoki's unconscious body towards Kojou, claiming he tried to get in his way. Unleashing his 2 dragon snake familiars, Battler gets ready to tame the Nalakuvera. Just then, Kojou receives a call from Yukina, who suggests he hold the Nalakuvera and not destroy it for the time being. Kojou then asks Battler to try to take on Nalakuvera first, and if he cannot succeed, then Battler can tame the bioweapon all he wants. Since Battler likes to see a show out of Kojou and make fun of his inability to control his familiars, he happily agrees. Kojou then unleashes his familiar and becomes so strong that Kojou, along with Sayaka and the Nalakuvera, plunges underground. Soon, the water starts filling up and the weapon begins healing itself. Meanwhile, Asagi is doing her work on trying to decrypt and analyze commands for Gardos. Yukina sneaks away into a large hall and discovers an army of Nalakuvera. Christoph Sardos appears from the dark and informs her that his ultimate goal was to summon an army so that he could wage war on the first progenitor. Yukina tries to stop him and manages to cut Sardos' left arm in an intense battle. But just when Yukina thought the war was over, Sardos now has all of the Nalakuvera under his control, thanks to Asagi's deciphering skills. He then threatens Yukina to surrender by holding Asagi and Nagisa hostage. In the meantime, Kojou and Sayaka cannot find their way back up from the underground. Unable to unleash this familiar, Sayaka offers Kojou to drink her blood so that he can have enough power to get his familiars to work. Kojou then bites Sayaka's neck, and in the next scene, we see that Kojou has unleashed his 9th familiar, Al-Nasl Minium. With the help of the familiar's power, the two manage to come up on the ground. Meanwhile, Natsuki helps Yukina with the therianthropes and rescues Asagi and Nagisa. Kojou and Sayaka learn that there is a queen bee among the Nalakuvera, which heads the command unit for all other soldier Nalakuveras. Lord Battler applauds Sardos' success in managing to take over such a godly weapon. After finding that Sardos is commanding the Queen Nalakuvera, Kojou starts to strike it. Yukina arrives at the scene and announces that this is their common fight. Kojou, Yukina, and Sayaka then ready their position as they prepare to battle against Sardos and his army of bioweapons. But no matter how often they try, the Nalakuveras rebuild themselves, only to grow stronger. Thankfully, Yukina informs the team that Asagi had created a virus program that destroys the weapons every time they rebuild themselves. Their main task is to get the program to the command unit and play the voice file. While Yukina restrains the soldier Nalakuveras, Kojou and Sayaka head towards the commander Nalakuvera. Kojou unleashes his 9th familiar once again and knocks down the central unit. He then defeats Sardos while Yukina plays the voice program on the commander unit. Their battle concludes when all the Nalakuveras shut down one by one, crushing in the ground. Meanwhile, Lord Battler watches from afar, but he is interrupted by a schoolgirl who delivers his request, saying that it has been confirmed. It is later revealed that the request was about offering him to be the ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary at the warlord's dominion. At the hospital, Asagi regains her consciousness and worries about Nalakuveras. Kojou calms her that everything is over, and she doesn't have to worry now. Asagi gets emotional and kisses Kojou. She expresses his feelings for him just when Nagisa and Yukina arrive to check on her. Nagisa is suspicious her brother did something to Asagi, while Yukina calls him a jerk.